Welcome everyone to the OPHARDT Hygiene webinar for the OPHARDT Intelligent Solutions category. Once again, we have a very international crowd joining us, so thank you very much for taking the time to listen in, whether it's early in the morning for you or late at night. We really appreciate you tuning in. My name is Joel Opart. I'm joining you from our Swiss facility today, and I'll be guiding you through the webinar that takes a look at the future of hand hygiene in a healthcare setting. So maybe let's take a quick look at the agenda. So first up, I'll be giving you a very condensed introduction to who OPHARDT Hygiene is for those who might not be familiar with our organization. Then I'll hand over to Peter Ickert, our business segment manager for OPHARDT Intelligent Solutions. Maybe Peter, you can wave hello. Peter, throughout his career, Peter's been focused on digitalizing and modernizing healthcare processes around the world through innovative hardware and software solutions. Peter will take you through some of the core principles that we focus on with our OPHARDT Hygiene monitoring solution and the main devices that we offer. After that, we'll hand over to Joshua Gertz, our front-end software development manager. Josh brings years of practical experience in network administration, web development, and software engineering. He'll take you through the core functions of both our web application and the feedback monitor, and really focus on the new features in the beta software that changes the way you can expect electronic hand hygiene monitoring to help you improve hand hygiene compliance. And then finally, we'll have Dr. Andreas Gluckner provide you with a scientific overview of why electronic hand hygiene matters so much. Dr. Gluckner has decades of experience working in intensive care and infectious disease. Most recently, he was able to use the OPHARDT hygiene monitoring system at his clinic in Greifswald in order to show some staggeringly positive figures for why hand hygiene monitoring is important. In 2017, Dr. Gluckner joined us as medical director after being thoroughly convinced of the importance of pushing electronic hand hygiene monitoring research and development forward. So after Dr. Gluckner finishes, we'll have a question and answer time period. So feel free at any point in time to type a question using the GoToMeeting control panel, and just type the question in there. We'll get to them at the end. If you don't see an option on your control panel, please press the red button with an arrow to expand it. And like I said, we'll get to them at the end or towards the end. If you have additional questions, you can also type them in at that moment when we're going through the questions, or just reach out to us after through email, give us a call, whichever way you prefer. So let's get started with the overview of who we are. So OPHARDT Hygiene was founded in 1962 by Hermann Ophardt, a young German engineer. Working out of his garage, Hermann Ophardt developed a dispenser that has remained the #1 dispenser in German, Swiss, and Austrian healthcare facilities for the past 50 years. His dispenser was the first to reliably dispense alcohol-based hand rubs using a stainless steel lever and using upwards instead of downwards dispensing. These dispensers spread like wildfire due to their reputation for reliability. And very quickly, the company expanded from Germany to open up manufacturing locations in Belgium, then Ireland, Canada, Switzerland, and the Philippines. And this year, we're also going to be adding another production facility in Armenia. You know, each location has its own specialization, like stainless steel production in Germany, or high volume pump production in Canada, and plastic dispenser manufacturing in the Philippines. We currently have more than 700 employees at OPHART, also growing rapidly right now due to COVID-19, and more than 1,000 products. And what we're most proud of is that we hold more than 400 patents, and that we still have 10% of our employees engaged in R&D research, staying true to the ideology that Hermann baked into the company right from the beginning, by perpetually focusing on customer-driven innovation and reliability. To us, also really important that we have a big breadth in our portfolio with more than 1,000 products, because we don't believe that very singularly focused products are really useful to customers that have so many different environments. You know, you need the products to work around your workflows, and we'll get a little bit into that with this software as well. So all of our innovations, even the intelligent solutions you're going to see today, and even the simple dispensing hardware, all of them are based around one single framework, and that's our mission to break the chain of infection. Now, we don't produce chemicals or refillables like soaps and sanitizers and paper. In fact, those manufacturers are usually our partners. Anything that falls into the spectrum of hardware and software that can help our customers prevent users getting infected is what we spend our time developing. During the coronavirus pandemic, this is particularly relevant as we believe that our products and tools are vital to reduce the need for treatment while we wait for a vaccine. So with that being said, I think I'll turn it over to Peter Eckert, who can maybe explain in a broader context how we think that OPHARDT Intelligent Solutions and the OHMS software and the devices associated with that, how we envision those products working together to reducing infections.
Thanks, Joel, for the nice introduction. And now I'll let you know a little bit about the basics of hand hygiene and the hardware that we have today and what the status quo is. So first of all, about the importance of hand hygiene. You can really call it in short, in 2 words, it's a lifesaver. 80% of all healthcare associated infections are transmitted by hand, and that is now known for more than 100 years, and we are still in the process of getting that into everybody's brain worldwide. On a European basis, we have about 2.6 million healthcare associated infections in Europe alone. So that is a big issue still that's going on. And what studies have proven, and later Dr. Glöckner will show you a little bit more on those studies. I have only one just to give you a quick indication of what can be done if the hand hygiene compliance is increased by 37% from 48 to 66% compliance rate. The hospital acquired infection rate is going down by 41%. And that is great if you look at how many people are really concerned, the 2.6 million infections that we have to deal every year in Europe. And also the World Health Organization, of course, says that hand hygiene is the most important single measure to avoid those infections, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic that we are currently having. It's an increased issue. And also another thing is that some other infections are coming on top of that. We have the antibiotic resistant bacteria, and we also want to use less antibiotics, and that will also be proven in the studies. So what's the actual status quo? What is the status of hand hygiene in healthcare institutions? And it is, unfortunately, it is a very bad, and we have a very poor compliance. So if you look at the donut on the right, about 40% of all required hand disinfections are being done, which means, on the other hand, that 60% are being neglected. So what is the reason for that? So one of those is the lack of knowledge and awareness, that they don't know the 5 moments of hand hygiene. The other one is availability of hand disinfectant. That could mean either that there is no dispenser at the point of care, or that the dispenser has run empty on disinfectant fluid. Of course, in the healthcare world, we see the heavy workload, and we recognize that, of course, especially in ICUs and in COVID stations. And then also some hand hygiene events are being missed. A bad thing is actually the lack of motivation. So some people still do not believe that hand hygiene is important. And what we figured out is also that there is vague and missing feedback. And That is a key point. So you really don't know if you did it at the right time or you did consume the right amount and what your actual compliance is. So we are focusing also on that point quite a lot. So again, only 40% are being done and 60% is a lot of room for improvement. Now we will show you how to break this status quo. That means going from the 40% to a much higher compliance. So let's take a look on how we are set up at OPHART. As Joel mentioned in the beginning, we are doing hardware and software solutions. And for the smart solutions, we set up a business segment, which is called OPHART Intelligent Solutions, OIS. We have two big areas of application. One that we are talking about today is the healthcare OPHART Intelligent Solutions, but we have also another one for washroom solutions. We have a special software for both these fields of application. So for healthcare, it's OPHART Hygiene Monitoring System, OHMS, and for washroom, it's OWMS. Why are they different? In healthcare, you have a totally different focus. So compliance is the key issue, using the right amount of fluids. And in public washrooms is basically when should the dispenser being filled up? When do you need more paper rolls? How can we best allocate the maintenance people and so on? So different requirements. So we have different software modules with the same smart devices that can be used in any application. And of course, we can also mix the software. So let's come to the smart devices. Basically, there are two dispensing methods in the world. One is the Furo-Bottle and the other is the Cartridge system. As Joel mentioned in the beginning, we at OPHART have started with the upward dispensing, and that is basically the Furo-Bottle. That's the most widespread system in Europe. So you have standardized bottles, even if they look different, they all fit in Furo-Bottle dispensers. And of course, you are totally free in the choice of the manufacturer of what liquid you are putting in there. So especially now in the case of a pandemic and one supplier has a shortage, you can go to the next supplier and put in a different disinfectant. Or even some hospitals during the pandemic produce their own alcohol for the usage in those dispensers. So that is upward dispensing, and for downward dispensing, and that is also a system that is widespread, but more or less in the other parts of the world, like the North Americas and in Asia and Pacific. And in Europe, we have some countries where there's a mixture between Furo-Bottles and cartridge systems. So little bit introduction why we need smart dispensers and what our smart dispensers can do. When they are being activated, they produce a so-called timestamp. So they give you the time and date when the dispenser was used. And the next thing, which is very important, is the dispenser ID, which means actually which location, so which dispenser was used and in which location. And last but not least, and that's also very important, is the dispensed dosage. And in Europe, for instance, there is a requirement to actually use 3 ml in the healthcare environment. If you look at the US, for instance, it's just a 2 ml. And in Europe, there are also ongoing discussions about 1.5 being enough. So we really have to measure that, and we are doing that quite accurately. And as I promised you in the beginning, we take a very big focus on feedback, giving feedback. And the most critical one, and currently we are the only one that can do that, we give immediate feedback at the dispenser. So there is a green feedback LED in the face shield of the dispenser that will light up when the right amount is being used. I will show you how that looks like a little bit later. Then per ward, we actually offer a feedback screen that gives the performance of that individual ward and also compared to targets being set for that ward. And Josh will tell you a little bit and show it in a live situation how that is being done and how that looks like. And on the overall healthcare institution, we have the admin feedback software. So the administration staff can basically look at the whole healthcare institution, either hospital or nursing home or rehab clinic, and basically compare the individual wards next to each other and also take a look at monthly reports, for instance, that have to be done. And Josh will also let you know how that easily can be done. So let's take a look at the first smart device. That, of course, doesn't look like a full dispenser. And the reason why we did that, we have a smart retrofit unit because OPHARDT ingo-man Plus dispensers have been sold more than 2 million times to German-speaking healthcare associations. So we have an installed base of more than 2 million dispensers that can be made basically with relatively less effort, can be made smart. So it's an intelligent face shield that can be installed in less than 30 seconds. And it's compatible to all those 500 milliliter dispensers. You can see the blinking light already. So it has an integrated feedback LED that shines up when the 3 ml is dispensed per hand hygiene event. And it also has a small integrated low battery LED that shines red. But don't be afraid, the battery lasts at least 5 years. So we have a range of 5 to 7 years. So we warrant for about 5 years. So you will not see that red light in the next couple of years. We also do, of course, a fill level calculation and send out a bottle change alarm because it's really critical that the dispensers do not run out of alcohol or soap. And when there is about 5 to 10% rest in the bottle, then we send out that alarm. And Josh will also give you more details about the secure communication that we are doing, but we have, of course, everything encrypted WLAN communication and very fast configuration software and wireless firmware updates. And even we can do that next to the dispenser with NFC. So let's show you a small video that you can see the light reader blinking. So healthcare worker is coming, pushing down the lever 2 times. Full downward motion is about 1.5 milliliters. So if you have 2 full strokes, it's a 3 ml and the line shines. But of course, you have different workers that use the dispenser differently. So maybe they need 3 or 4 times semi pushes of the lever and still they get the 3 ml and they get the feedback. And of course, you can use or buy the system, of course, as a complete pre-assembled system with all the same features, of course. And as you can see here, there's a full dispenser that is already smart. Now a short video on basically how you make an installed ingo-man Plus dispenser that's hanging at your wall, how to make it smart. So remove the bottle, put up the face shield, remove the pump. Then you push the spring bar in the dispenser, remove the face shield. Then you put in a magnet to record the movement of the lever. Just press it in and ready. Now you use the smart nose. Put it in. Very simple. Now you put in again the pump. Normally we recommend a hygienic single-use pump for those purposes. And now the filled up bottle. Close the face shield, do a couple of activations to get the smart nose running and transmitting. Now the smart device is ready, and if you counted the seconds, it's about 30 seconds and you have a smart device. As Joel mentioned, we are also already in the market of smart solutions for almost 9 years now. We started with the first smart dispensers in 2011. And you can see here our green technology version. If you push down the lever, you generate the power for data transmission with a small built-in dynamo that generates all the power that is required for that. And of course, this is available for 500 ml and 1000 milliliter Euro bottles. Very robust. You have the bottle empty alarm and of course all the same features of simple configuration, and you can use the same OHMS software for the smart nose dispensers and the smart ePro, our green technology. Just to show you the operation of the dispenser. So you push the lever, the generator generates power. Next time we send the healthcare worker back again because 2 pushes would be great. So we also have, of course, a smart version, and you can see here signal colors are something that we are producing as well. And Dr. Glöckner will also let you know a little bit about the nudging effect. So if you have a dispenser in signal colors, and we've proven that with some customers also, is then the usage of the dispenser increases by almost 30%. So great efficiency there. And this dispenser operates with 5 batteries inside, because you do not need only the power for data transmission, but you also need, of course, for the pump to get up the alcohol or soap in the dispenser. These batteries last about 1.5 years. And of course, as I said, bottle empty alarm, very important, and the data transmission and the same software. So you can mix any of those dispenser types that are smart with the same software. And we have another one, because I mentioned already in the beginning that we also have cartridge systems, of course, like for the North American market, partly Europe, and a lot of the Asian market. These dispensers, of course, can be used. We have special pumps, a wide range of pumps for liquids, paste, sanitizers, spray, shower, gel, lotion, whatever you can think of. So this is the most universal cartridge dispenser. And it's a touchless version, of course, and you put your hands on the bottom of the dispenser, and you will get always a predetermined amount, which is a preset at 1.5 ml, but can also be changed to another value. And if you have the 3 ml reached, you can also see the green LED at the bottom of the dispenser here, a little bit enlarged over there. So you can see also you have a direct feedback already there. And you can also do the over-the-air updates. And it is currently available as a 500 ml version, but the 1 liter version is also coming relatively soon. So we have basically every use case covered with our smart dispensers. Just to give you again a quick summary and overview about our hygienic monitoring systems. And of course, it is a fully automated system that works around the clock, every day of the week, every day of the year. We have a set of standardized reports to fulfill your basic requirements. And Josh will let you show how you can easily set up your own additional reports. We have feedback screens with real-time data on the individual wards. We have all the alert functionality. The system does not disturb your current workflow, and it works totally in the background. And last but not least, it also has a very effective cost-saving potential due to infection prevention, which I mentioned in the beginning of the hospital-acquired infections. And Dr. Glöckner will also show you what else can be saved with respect to infections and sepsis. And of course, you use a lot less of antibiotics, which also save you money. We follow a group dynamic approach. That means that actually not one individual worker can be traced either for good or bad hand hygiene compliance. So with us, we monitor the group because we believe in that the group has their own dynamic and a group can improve the best if they want to go to a higher compliance rate.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that great overview of the OPHARDT Intelligent Solutions category as it relates to healthcare. So as we highlighted before, we'll hand over to Josh to take a peek into the new OHMS software and the feedback screen.
Hey, thank you, Joel. Very excited to be here today to get to show off our beautiful dashboard here. We'll start with this home page, our beloved dashboard. I'll take you through it. I just want to point out one thing that I really love about OHMS is that we've really focused on making this as simple as possible and keeping you in one place as much as possible. So you can look at most of the data in the system from just this one page, and it really becomes a beautiful thing to use in order to get relevant data at a glance. So let's take you through some of the components we see here. So on the top left, we have our context menu. So here you can change the context of the data you're looking at. So whether or not you want to look at an entire organization or just down at a ward level, you have some great granularity, and you can even dive further than that. You can go right into a room and all the way down to individual dispensers, which is very cool, very powerful. You can also search for what you're looking for in this top bar if you have many ones. Just next to it here is the date context. So here we can change what dates we're looking at, and we provide some pre-selects here for you. So the current week, last week, you can go by month, by year, and of course a custom range selector. So next is our donut. We love our donut. It's great. It's very powerful at seeing your data and your targets for your data. So we can take a look here. You can see first we have hand hygiene events. So that's the raw number of actual activations of dispensers in the system. You have hand hygiene events per patient day, which obviously is just that raw number divided by the number of patient days in your system. Compliance, which is a calculated value to show you how well you're meeting your targets. The volume, so the overall volume being dispensed by all the dispensers, as well as volume per patient day. So let's take a look at hand hygiene events per patient day. So you can see here, we have 147 hand hygiene events per patient day. It's logged in the system. We have a target of 200. So we're doing fairly well, not perfect, but such is life. Just below the donut here, we also have some data that remains consistent no matter what data points you're looking at within the other components. So things like hand hygiene events per patient day are here, but here this data stays consistent, so you can always get a view of the overall data. So we have target hand hygiene events per patient day, so that's at 200 target. We have the actual, which is 147, the 7 patient days that are in the system. 2.14 liters have been dispensed in the last week in this ward, as well as 1,030 hand hygiene events. One really great piece of interaction here is you can click and just set the target right in the homepage here. And that is contextual to the word you're looking at, which is great. Drawing your attention to the middle graph area, this is where you can see sort of historical trends in your data. So we take a look at hand hygiene events per patient day. You can see here it's day by day for the last week. If we look at a longer time frame, let's look at the current month. See that data just flies. Looks like we had one day that just went a lot of dispensing happening that day, which is great. Now we're looking at this We can change the granularity by left clicking and changing it to daily or to weekly. So you can really control how you're seeing this data in the middle. We can also look at subsets of the context you're looking at here. So you can say for a whole year, let's take a look, see all our data. Obviously, we only started tracking some since April, but you can very quickly just say, okay, I only want to see the data that I want to, and sort of use this slider to get exactly what you're looking for very quickly and easily. Another awesome piece about this graph is you can very easily save a report. So you can set the data up to look at whatever you want to look at in the system, and then generate a report, either in PDF or CSV, of everything you're looking for. Over on the right here, we have our quality bar, which is another, again, very at a glance, able to see how well you're hitting your quality metrics. So here on the right, we have the different ranges of dispensing. So here we have 1 to 1.5 ml, and on the left, we have the number of events that fall into that range. So we have 9,401 hand hygiene events that were 1 to 1.5 ml. And we only have 3 here that have hit that 3.0 ml quality standard. So we need to get people to do more activations per every time they go up to the device. Down below here, you can again just see a quick average in the system of all of these hand hygiene events. We're at 1.66 ml. We've really got to work on our demo account here and get us a higher volume per hand hygiene. Peter, is there anything you wanted to add about our beautiful dashboard here?
Yeah, great. Great presentation so far, Josh, and thank you for joining us from Canada. So we can see at the clock below that it's 8 in the morning for you, so thanks for that. And I think the critical issues here are basically the hand hygiene events per patient day, which means that the patient days or the midnight statistic can be imported into the system, which is really great. So that gives you accurate hand hygiene compliance, as we see here, and to make it even more, let's say, adjustable and see the deficits that could show up. Like here, the target is 200, and Josh said it's already great, but we are still missing 25%. And what is even more under discussion is that in this case, you have only about 2.1 ml on the right-hand side of the volume being taken on average. So next step for this ward would actually be then to give some additional training to use the right dose with every hand hygiene event. And maybe that needs a little bit clarification. What is the hand hygiene event? That's basically if a person is standing in front of the dispenser and using in a predetermined time frame, which is approximately 5 seconds, is activating the lever, and with every activation of the lever, there's a dosage coming out, and this is added up to 1 hand hygiene event. And when the patient leaves, that is then basically stored and transmitted. So a very good overview of what the person in front of the dispenser took. And with the patient days, you really have then an accurate hand hygiene compliance in that ward, and also in the hospital, of course.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Yeah. That's a really good point about hand hygiene events and how multiple strokes can really just add up to 1. So that's great. Let's go for a quick peek into the reporting section. So here we have our standard reports that can be generated at the click of a button. Again, you can, if you have multiple companies or different groupings here, you can select your company, and down here we have a set of standard reports that we think cover off most usage. If somebody has a report need that isn't filled here, we could definitely add whatever standard reports are necessary. As well, down here we can subscribe to these standard reports so that they can be generated whenever we need them. So if you have a need to have say the hand hygiene events report every day, you can easily and quickly set that up here, or maybe you need it weekly, monthly, whatever you need, which is a really great and simple tool. Now let's take a peek at the feedback screen. So here we see a feedback screen for one ward. On the left, again, our beautiful big donut to really show off our compliance. Not a great number, but I'm sure they're working on it. They've had some great numbers in the past year. Just taking a dive in the last week. Maybe they got a little busy. What's great about this screen is that it will auto reload. So you can leave this up and have it refresh automatically, so you never have to touch it. It can sit there on a big dashboard and just constantly update you on the data. As well, over here on the right, you can see we have yellow, green, and red down here. These values are all settable in the system, so you can change where your green markers come in, where your yellow markers come in, and then of course the red markers, so that you can really control, where your targets are and what you want to see as green compliance. Peter, I know you love this screen, so I'm sure you want to add something to what I just said.
Yeah, I really love that, because you see everything at a glance. And if you look at the individual nursing stations at the ward, basically they just need only one look at this. And if the chief nurse for this ward would see that it's going down to red, so she could immediately take some actions. As you said, it's updating itself regularly. So that's really great. You can actually see what has happened the last couple of minutes or hours. And that is critical, and you can directly check out with going into the software what the reason for this might be. If the dispensers are empty or whatever, then you can start basically figuring out what is happening. And another point is, Josh, that maybe our listeners are asking themselves why we are using OHMS demo data. Of course, we cannot show you here data from our real customers. So we have a lot of installations in Europe that are already using those smart devices for a long couple of years. But of course, we cannot disclose this data, and we will never do that to anybody. So therefore, we are using this data, and just to give you an idea what can happen at your institution.
Yes, and that's a very good point, Peter, and something we should discuss quickly. All the data that you're seeing is just randomly generated data meant to sort of mock a realistic situation. So one important, incredibly important piece of software development for hand hygiene compliance is protecting your data. So we use the strongest available encryption whenever your data is being transferred around. So from the device itself, it is encrypted all the way to our cloud, which we maintain all the data in Germany. And like I say, it's always encrypted whenever anything's in transfer. And then once it gets into our cloud infrastructure, it remains very, very protected with very limited access. And of course, only you will be able to see your data. I think that's everything we wanted to cover today from the dashboard.
Yeah, thanks very much, Josh. I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but also probably important to point out that the feedback screen itself, the way it's meant to be set up really is we generate a link that all that you have to do is you have to copy and paste it into any smart TV that you might have, and you just copy that link into that smart TV's browser, and it automatically just starts feeding data in there from your OHMS system. Whatever targets you've set, very easy to install and get set up, and so your users will maybe in a lunchroom for nurses, they can start seeing how their performance is and adjust their behavior accordingly. But yeah, thank you very much, Josh, for that look into the software and feedback screen. I think we really made some significant progress from 2011 when we first introduced this software and hardware, taking this from a more of a scientific tool that requires targeted training to the next generation of software and hardware that automatically improves behavior and is just so much easier to understand. To help you understand what kind of effect OPHARDT Intelligent Solutions can have on improving hand hygiene and why they're really necessary to bring hand hygiene programs to the next level, we're happy to have Dr. Gluckner arm you with some scientific data.
Thank you, Joel, for the nice introduction. Before I go in medias res with the scientific data, I want to give you the medical view, my view of our company mission. We want help with our systems to prevent the transmission of infecting agents and to decrease the number of nosocomial infections. And for me, the message is very simple. If we can prevent the first link of the chain, the transmission of infecting agent, we have no infection, no sepsis or septic shock that are common complications of the systemic infection. And we have no problem with the treatment of this infection and at the end with the death of the patient. That is more than important for me in the time of an increasing number of multi-drug resistant organisms, which makes especially the antibiotic first-line therapy difficult more frequently, and the mortality rate is also increasing. And please consider, if you have a septic shock, only each second patient will survive. Now we are coming to clinical studies, and before I start, some facts to the task of clinical studies in common and in the field of hand hygiene monitoring systems. Clinical studies serves as a tool to validate new method in medicine to see is a diagnostic or treatment better as the existing gold standard. And if we look at our context, the cardinal question is, can electronic monitoring systems support in achieving sustainable improvement in hand hygiene? And which points have we to consider in detail? In the first line, the compliance of hand hygiene, and of course the impact of the well-known Hawthorne effect. And secondly, the view on the volume of disinfectant per hand hygiene event. And last but not least, a little view in the future. We have to look at the effects of the use of outer intervention. Peter had mentioned it before, the feedback LED and the feedback screen, and of course the alarm functions, the alerts. At first, I will show you two studies investigate the impact of giving feedback and using ingo-man Smart ePro and the OHMS. And before I start, I will say you the results for me are impressive. The first study was at the Heidenheim Clinic and looks at the effects of target setting posters and feedback monitor permanently. And if you look at the graphs, you can see in detail the results of this trial. At first, the mono interventions, goal setting, and feedback. You can see clearly in the dark column we have in the intervention period increasing of compliance, but it was not significantly in view to the baseline period. And then the combine arm or the combination of goal setting and feedback, then you can see significant improvement of increasing of hand hygiene compliance, this in the intervention period, and the sustainable effect was also given in the post-intervention period. In summary, you can see, or we can see, goal setting and feedback as components of a successful intervention to improve the hand hygiene. The next trial was published by Scheitauer and co-workers. It was a multi-month study with the OHMS as a University Hospital of Aachen in the cardiac surgery ICU, and the issue was goal and feedback in view of the volume of per hand disinfection. And the goal was, as mentioned before by Peter, the 3 ml per hand disinfection or hand hygiene event. And in the graph on the bottom, you can see in detail the results. In the basic period, you see that it exists a huge difference to the goal with 1.69 ml per hand hygiene event. And then in the first intervention period, analysis and feedback, the feedback was given by trainings weekly, and you can see it is not very good improvement with 1.88 ml, but in the second intervention period, after increasing Wi-Fi dispensers and analysis and feedback, you can see a significant improvement of volume per hand hygiene event to 1.63 ml. And you can also see in the post-intervention period with 2.66 ml the sustainable effect of the intervention. The next trial is my own one-year study on an intermediate care ward of the BDH clinic in Greifswald. We have used Weco touchless dispenser and the OHMS. And you can see at the first the effect of specific training courses 2 weeks on volume dispense per hand disinfection. In comparison, also near the same as Scheithauer had shown. And you can see in the graph that in the passive phase of this trial, the first 6 months, it's a stable but not good situation. Only 1/4 of all hand hygiene events had the right volume. And then start of training in the 7th month, and it growing up to over 51%. It's nearly a doubling of the right actions, and so it was a success for me to see this one. It's not ideal, but it is a very good improvement. And the next question what was the impact of touchless dispenser and the feedback on the sanitizer consumption, the nosocomial infection, and the antibiotic usage. And you can see that the alcohol-based hand rub consumption was increased over 30%, and in the same dimension, the healthcare-associated infection and the antibiotic treatment, they was decreased. I was very surprised and also happy about these absolute positive results. Now some words to the Hawthorne effect. What is the Hawthorne effect? It is a very simple definition. It exists a very simple definition. You change your behavior if you're under observation. That is it, not more. And I believe you know that the direct observation is the gold standard to quantify the hand hygiene compliance until the day. The question is, do the direct observation shows a realistic picture of compliance? And we have to use in the studies. The first one is from Strictly, from the McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada. And this team could show that the number of hand disinfection under direct observation is 3 times higher compared to times of no observation. For me, very interesting. And the same direction are the results of Stefan Hage from the University Hospital of Jena. They had observed the Hawthorne effect on a surgical ICU, and you can see that under direct observation, the compliance was not so good with 51%, but without observation, the hand hygiene compliance was under 20%. And so the Hawthorne effect is 2.6 fold higher with practical on direct observation in comparison to without observation. In the graph on the right hand, you can see the difference between observation period and non-observation period. Very impressive for me. And at the end, a kind of summary from my view as a clinician on the hand hygiene monitoring. As you have shown, the direct observation is unsuitable to determining the real hand hygiene compliance. And you have seen that electronic monitoring can serve nearly real-time data of hand hygiene performance, also mentioned before by Peter and Josh. And the data are the basis of targeted and prompt interventions. And we have a supporting column with a monitoring system to improve sustainable, that's very important, sustainable hand hygiene compliance and quality. And we support with our systems medical facilities in their efforts to break the chain of infection, to prevent nosocomial infection, and at the end, to save lives.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Glöckner. Very good overview about the current studies, or some of those studies that have been done. We are also right now in the phase of doing additional studies, also with Heidenheim. So this is all ongoing. And what we've seen is that with our hygiene monitoring system, we can measure the improvement of the actual hand hygiene. And with the systems we have installed in our customers, we have already more than 40 million registered hand hygiene events. So we also have a big database on that. We see that the compliance has been increased and over the last couple of years, and that we integrate all the time new smart devices and into that system and that software. And that is an ongoing process. So every couple of months, there will be new additional smart systems added to our portfolio. And the feedback, as we've seen, is very critical. So that is still a key element to improve the hand hygiene compliance, and the auto interventions and the intuitive software can reduce the efforts for the hygiene professionals. So it's basically self-explanatory, so we don't need anybody behind standing our backs showing us that we did the right thing. And of course, as Dr. Glöckner also pointed out, the main goal is basically reduce nosocomial infections in the hospital and the number of days with antibiotic treatments.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Glöckner and Peter, for the great overview of our system and the scientific data that backs up the power of OHMS. One thing I really want to draw attention to is that the OHMS system, or just underline this, with the OHMS system, we aren't asking users to change anything about their processes at all with these new steps we've taken. There are no badges to carry. There's no additional equipment to install on top of the dispensers, and no one has to worry about being individually tracked. Everything is done within the normal workflows that healthcare workers can expect. The only tools we use are on-site feedback in order to automatically improve behavior. Hand hygiene monitoring literally cannot be simpler than this. There are virtually no hurdles to overcome here, and yet the scientific data says that we can improve hand hygiene behavior with these tools and save lives. But we don't have to try to convince you ourselves. We have a lot of happy customers in the market using our system since 2011. Through our blog, the Hygiene Hub, you can go check it out at news.ophart.com. You can see some reference stories for all kinds of products we have, but including our OHMS systems. On the left-hand side, you see the hospital in Lippstadt, Germany, using our touchless dispenser. And on the right-hand side, you see the hospital in Münster-Hiltrup, using our green dispenser technology where they don't have to use batteries. Both of them are using technology that improves compliance automatically. Both have the red high-vis neon color on the dispensers, which has been scientifically shown to increase compliance, and are also on the right-hand side, you see a point-of-care solution which through its proximity to patients also improves compliance. But if you have any questions about these references, please contact us directly after the webinar. We also have a few different tools, including more webinars. If you go to our website, ophart.com, you'll be able to sign up for more of them, or email us at training@ophart.com. If you have any wishes for other webinars in the future, feel free to write us. If you have feedback on this webinar, feel free to contact us. We also have a monthly newsletter where we talk about new products, where we publish some of our reference stories, or even just general news about the world of hand hygiene with studies and our thoughts about them. And we also have a training course certified by an independent body, which some of you might know. The TÜV in Germany is internationally recognized certification body for technical equipment. They're working together with us to certify people as experts in hand hygiene equipment care. So thank you very much for your participation. Now we'll go to the question and answer period. So I'll just have to take a look here into the comment section to see if anyone's asked something. Please just give me a second here. So first off the bat, we have a question, Peter, probably best directed to you, just what the process is for getting started here. What do customers have to expect? What are the kind of price ranges that we're looking into?
Yeah, so first of all, on the customer side, we expect a full and good working WLAN structure, of course, to send the data. And next to that, the smart dispensers is something like you see for the smart nose, which you can make your installed base already smart. That is an added price of approximately 50 euros. And that smart part, either in this dispenser or in others, is basically all the time around 50 euros plus the software licenses. So a smart device is, in short, about 50 euros more expensive than a standard device, the comparable one, of course. And the software depends a little bit on what kind of institution you have and how big it is. So we basically start all the time with an administrative license, so for the whole institution, and then we have a license per ward. And no matter how many dispensers you have on each ward, and even with the biggest installations, we limit the number of ward licenses to 7. So even if you have 15 wards, you just have to pay for the 7, no matter how many dispensers you have. And then there is the only fee per dispenser is a €1 fee, actually for the data that is being sent and transmitted to the cloud, and basically to keep the cloud server updated. So that's quite easy and relatively good to understand and to follow up.
Great, thanks for that, Peter. The next question, maybe for Josh here. What's the IT process to setting up these dispensers or getting started from that side? What kind of infrastructure or setup process do you have to go through?
It's a really great question. Thanks, Joel. So the dispensers just need to connect to your wireless already provided in your facility. So they currently do all the standard wireless access methods, so WPA2 and pre-shared key and enterprise authentication. So once they're up and running, the other piece that we need to add to the network is a message collector. So we just have a small piece of software that runs that needs to be set up and pointed to from your dispensers. At that point, it's all the data will just flow. The data will flow from the devices to the message collector and be sent on to our IoT core and really collect all that information there. So it's a very simple system, and like I think Peter mentioned very quickly, we are adding an NFC configuration app, so you will be able to, with a smart device, very quickly set up these usernames and passwords, or just your shared wireless passwords on the devices, get them up and running very quickly.
Maybe just one sentence to add, Josh. You mention all the time simple, and we try to keep it very simple for the user. So the system itself is, let's say, relatively broad and not that easy, and it was improved over the last couple of years. So we try to make it simple for the user. And I think that's critical. So we do not want, as Joel also described, a complicated system for you. So we want to make it simple and easy to use.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, guys. Another quick question just on the smart nose was about battery life. I think I'll just answer this one. As far as we know, for battery life on the smart nose, it depends very heavily on the Wi-Fi connection setup you have. So obviously, the dispenser ends up using a little bit more battery life if you have a weak signal, and a little bit less if the signal is strong. We do usually send someone by to do a Wi-Fi network check, just to see if there's any dark spots that might need to be improved with the IT department. But in most cases, no matter what the network setup is like, the battery life is quite sufficient. In the worst scenarios that we've been calculating, we see a battery life around 3 years. In the best case scenarios, we see around 8 years. Under normal circumstances, we'd figure with about 5 years of battery life for the smart nose, but it's really quite variable depending on the network strength. But really, it's not a time frame where you need to worry about the smart nose battery draining within 3 months and having to constantly have someone go around and checking the batteries. That's not the case at all. All of our devices, whether touchless or smart, have really optimized electronics to draw very little power. And that's, I think, a major strength of the system. And of course, these dispensers also have alerting for fill level, but also for battery. So if your battery goes empty, the system will let you know that it's empty, and you'll have time to change the battery before it completely runs out. So you'll get an alert for that as well, and you'll see it on the dispenser as well. There's a little flashing LED in red that'll light up when the batteries are nearing empty. Great. Okay. Maybe the last question I see here, Peter, I think you could probably answer this question, and then we'll have to close it up since we're already 4 minutes over here. If someone's interested in a partnership model, how do they approach you? And in particular, do we have representation around the world outside of Europe or North America?
Yeah, we have some representations, let's say, in Europe and also starting in North America. But of course, we're also looking for competent partner to support us in spreading the smart story. So therefore, after the webinar, you can contact me or my team, or go directly to OPHART and use the OHMS@ophart.com email, and then you will find me.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for your time today. That concludes the webinar. Again, email ohms@ophart.com or training@ophart.com. Visit our website. You can get in touch with us multiple ways. If you have a special contact at OPHART OPHART a phone number, an email, a person you prefer to contact, they can point you in the right direction no matter what. So just reach out if you're interested, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.